Hey guys, welcome to another top list. I was gonna say top 50. Hold on, I'm just checking the mic and stuff, make sure everything's all good. Anyways, welcome to my top 50 favorite movies of all time. Yes, I've been planning to do this for quite some time. I remember a while back, a long time ago, years ago, I did my top 10 favorite films of all time. My list has drastically changed because opinions change. And everyone's opinions of films change. Sometimes orders change and stuff. So I thought I wanted to do an up-to-date version of my favorite films of all time because, again, opinions change, lists, and your orders change because maybe like years ago you liked this movie a little more, but now you like this one a little more. So I thought I'd give an up-to-date version of my favorite films of all time. And I thought I'd do a top 50 because 50, I've never done a top 50. And I can like talk about a lot more movies and stuff. This is gonna be a long video, but hopefully I don't drag on too long. And I'm not gonna explain a lot of these movies because I've talked about every single one of these films bajillion times. You all know my thoughts and opinions on most of these films. My top 10 hasn't really changed, but a lot of other movies have changed in different orders and stuff. So if you've seen certain films in different orders on different lists, pay no attention to that. This is just, again, a very subjective list and stuff. And again, this is not what I think the best films of all time are. I think these are just my personal favorite movies, just my personal favorites. There's not going to be any honorable mentions. It's just my list. I have them all written down because in case I forget something, because this is 50 films we're talking here, so let's get to it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. These are my 50 favorite films of all time. Coming at number 50, number 50 is Kiki's Delivery Service. Kiki's Delivery Service is a terrific Hayao Miyazaki film. It's a great personal story, and it's literally one of my favorite films because how simplistic it is. There is no complex plot devices. There is no villain. There's no antagonist. It's literally just about a little girl starting her own delivery service, and she's a witch. And it's got so much beautiful animation, great atmosphere, beautiful visuals, amazing, lovable, likable characters. Kirsten Dunst is amazing as Kiki herself, and I just adore this film. It's my second favorite Hayao Miyazaki film. You all know what my number one is, and I adore this film. It's one of my favorite films. Number 49 is another animated film. I think it's one of the greatest Disney masterpieces, and that is Fantasia. Fantasia came out in 1940, and it is a non-linear storytelling. It is basically music told through animation. It is just abstract animation played through all these amazing orchestra music, whether it's like Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, or whatever. It's just all this amazing classical music played through these beautiful abstract animated images that create a non-linear story. It is just absolute beautiful. It's an absolute masterpiece. The music is amazing. I love The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I love A Night at Bold Mountain stuff. The opening is really cool with the lines and stuff. Everything about Fantasia, I think, is absolutely brilliant, and I think it's one of the greatest films I've ever seen. Number 48 is The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is just a great feel-good movie. I just love this movie, and it just makes me happy every single time I watch it. That's why it's one of my all-time favorite films. It just puts me in a good mood, and it's just got the great characters, the great action, the great quotable lines, as you wish, inconceivable, and my name is Inigo Montorio, you killed my father, prepare to die. Just everything about The Princess Bride is timeless and just so feel good, and that's why it's one of my all-time favorite films of all time. I love The Princess Bride. Number 47 is one of my favorite comedies, is Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a product of its time, and you cannot duplicate Ghostbusters. Even Ivan Reitman and Hilde Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, they tried to duplicate Ghostbusters because they wrote and directed the second one, and even the second one, as enjoyable as it is at times, it's still nowhere near the quality of the first film. Even the video game is nowhere near the quality, and that fucking reboot is just trash. You cannot duplicate Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a once in a lifetime movie. You can never duplicate it. You can't make something that rich, that funny, and then just that amazing. The action, the visuals, the characters, all the Ghostbusters, Ernie Hudson, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, all fucking great characters. Sigourney Weaver's fantastic as well. Rick Moranis, I love Rick Moranis. Get him out of retirement. Like, man, that guy's amazing. But Ghostbusters, one of my favorite films of all time. Number 46 is Rocky. There's been a lot of good Rocky sequels and spinoffs, most of which have been great films. Nothing can match up to the original classic 1976 Rocky film. Rocky is just a great underdog story. It's a great underdog story about the Italian stallion, played by Sylvester Stallone, who also wrote the film, did a great job of writing the film. I love, again, these characters. I love good characters. I love Rocky Balboa, his relationship with Adrian, his twisted friendship with Paulie, and his coach. I love his coach, Mickey. I love Apollo Creed and how he's kind of a bully, but also you kind of sympathize with him and you understand his business perspective and stuff. Carl Weathers does a great job. I love the ending, and I love that it builds to a sequel that's very worthy. And Rocky is just a great story for everyone to watch. It's not like an adult movie. It's not a kid's movie. It's just a great movie that everyone can watch if you want to watch a good boxing story and a good underdog story. And it's just very heartwarming, very passionate, very well made. Rocky, great film. Number 45, Star Wars 1977. Yes, it's called A New Hope. I don't want to call it A New Hope. I always call it Star Wars, because that's what it's called. That's what it was called in 1977, and that's why what I always call it is Star Wars, because that's what it is. It's Star Wars. Star Wars is timeless. It's a classic. It's got the great practical visuals, the great classic story. It's got some of my all-time favorite characters in all of cinema, like Han Solo, Princess Leia Organa, Luke Skywalker, and Darth Vader, one of the greatest villains ever. It's a great story. It's got some of it's got some problems here and there, but I love everything about Star Wars. And the original trilogy is one of the greatest trilogies in all cinema, and I love the original Star Wars. And you'll see the sequel much lower on the list. Number 44 is Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is my favorite Disney film of all time. I love its musical numbers. I love Julie Andrews' performance. I think she's an amazing Mary Poppins. I thought Emily Blunt was still pretty good in Mary Poppins Returns, but she can never match that quality and that terrific charismatic performance Julie Andrews gave in the 1960s Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is such a great character and a great film. Amazing musical numbers, Step in Time, Jib Jiminy, Spoonful of Sugar. Every song in Mary Poppins is just so fucking fantastic. The way they blend the animation with the live action is really great. The characters are really great. It's got a great meaning. The scene at the ending with Mr. Banks when he has to go and do that long walk of shame when he's about to get fired from the bank is one of the greatest moments in all cinema. It's a great, deep, atmospheric moment with some really darkness to it. I just love everything about Mary Poppins. It's one of my all-time favorite films. Now we're going to Mary Poppins, to a very dark crime film. That's my number 43, which is The Godfather. The Godfather is a really amazing film with some of the best writing, some of the best dialogue, and some of the most intriguing characters in all of cinema. I love Godfather Part 2. Most people say it's better. I have a soft spot more for the first Godfather, but Part 2 is still an amazing masterpiece of cinema. I even have a soft spot for Godfather Part 3. I don't think it's a very good movie, but I still have a passionate like for it. And I still love Al Pacino in it. I don't like Sofia Coppola in it, but I still have a soft spot for Part 3. Part 1 has always been my favorite. I love the story more. I love the story about Michael Corleone. He doesn't want to join the family business and stuff, and he wants to get away from that. But then he commits this crime, goes to Italy, falls in love, loses his wife and stuff. And it's also about the family. It's about Vito Corleone. It's about Sonny. It's about Fredo. It's about all these characters and all this family in this mob world. It's in the mafia world. It's one of the most realistic depictions of the mafia. And Mario Puzo's Godfather novel was still decent, but it wasn't even that great. But Francis Ford Coppola brought to life this novel and made it better than the novel itself. It's one of the greatest American films. It's an absolute masterpiece, and it's The Godfather, one of the best. Number 42 is Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Akira Kurosawa's films I love. I love Ran. I love Rashomon, The Hidden Fortress, Kagemushu, everything. Yojimbo. Yojimbo's a great film. I just love so many. Scandal's a very underrated film. But Seven Samurai is a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. The cinematography, the characters, the editing is amazing. The action is so good for a 1950s action samurai story. I absolutely love everything. This is what films should strive to be. I even like its remake, The Magnificent Seven, both versions. But Seven Samurai is just such a groundbreaking film and a great foreign film too at that. And I absolutely love it. Seven Samurai, one of the best. Number 41. Is The Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club is a personal favorite of mine. I've done theories of Breakfast Club, videos about Breakfast Club, so you'll know how much I love The Breakfast Club. But I love a good coming-of-age story, and I love a good teen film when it's done properly and it does justice to the characters. I love all these characters. There's a lot of layers to a lot of these characters. They're all stereotypes in high school, but they also have a lot of layers to them, and it's just a great personal story. It's a funny movie. It's a dramatic movie. I love everything about The Breakfast Club, and again, I've talked a lot about it, so I won't go into details, but Breakfast Club's one of my favorites. That was my sister, if you didn't hear that. Anyways, number 40, top 40. Number 40, don't they realize I'm shooting a video right now, but they don't care. Anyways, number 40. Number 40 is my favorite horror film of all time. That's John Carpenter's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is one of the greatest horror films I've ever seen. I love Halloween. I love most of John Carpenter's films. I love The Thing. The Fog is even pretty decent. The Assault on Precinct 13, Starman, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York. I love John Carpenter's work, but nothing will ever compare to The Thing. The Thing is such a great film. It's one of the best. It's the best horror remake because The Thing from Another World was good, but The Thing is a great atmospheric, claustrophobic horror film. It makes you feel isolated. It makes you feel scared and worried, and you don't know who's who in this scenario and stuff. The ending is one of the most thought-provoking horror movie endings. I love both Keith David and Kurt Russell in this movie, and the scene when they're doing the blood test is one of the most intense scenes in all of horror films. And just everything about John Carpenter's The Thing I love, and it's my favorite horror film of all time. It's my all-time favorite. Number 39. Number 39 is one of the most underrated classic films I've ever seen, and it's called The Children's Hour. The Children's Hour has Shirley MacLaine and Audrey Hepburn. It's about these two girls who run this girl boarding school, and basically a rumor gets spread that both of them are gay women. And then they shut down the school, and people are protesting them not to be like counselors or teachers anymore. And then you find out deep down that Shirley MacLaine is gay and also very suicidal, and this is all ruining her life and stuff and ruining their business and stuff, and it leads to a very tragic demise for some of these characters, and it's a very sad and very bleak film, but it was a film that was way ahead of its time. It's got some of the best writing I've seen in a lot of classic films, and both Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine both gave great performances, Oscar-worthy indeed. And a lot of people has never even heard of this movie or even seen it, and it's a shame because The Children's Hour is one of the best films I've seen, and absolutely fantastic film. Number 38. Again, I love teen films, and I love 80s teen films. One of my all-time favorites is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Fast Times at Ridgemont High is such a funny film. Again, I love these characters, Jeff Spicoli and Brad and stuff. Even Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and Phoebe Cates' character. Come on now. Bam, bam, bam. Like, that's a classic. Hello, Brad. Titty shot. I love this movie. It's just funny. It's one of the films that makes me laugh my ass off more than most films in this world, in this play. Like, yeah. It's just, it takes a lot for me to laugh, especially films nowadays. They don't make me laugh very much, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High always makes me laugh. So that's why it's one of my favorites. All right, number 37 is Gladiator. Gladiator is a great story, and it's a great period piece story. It's a great historical story about this gladiator named Maximus Decius Meridius, who was a general, but then this general was supposed to be made king by the actual king. Not the king, the emperor. and he declines it. Then the emperor's son kills him, and basically he gets sentenced, and then he ends up being a gladiator and a slave and stuff, and he has to fight his way to defeat the emperor Commodus. This movie stars a lot of great actors: Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Richard Harris, Connie Nielsen, Jean Monazou, what's his name? Derek Jacobi, a lot of great actors. Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott's the kind of guy, he either makes amazing films like Gladiator and a couple other films you're going to see on this list, or he makes just shitty films like Exodus or something. Like, he's a mixed bag sort of director, but Gladiator is one of my favorite films. Number 36 is probably most people's favorite films, and that's Jurassic Park. One of my favorites. Spielberg is probably like my favorite director because I love Steven Spielberg. Jurassic Park is a great film. It's a great monster film. It's a great action adventure sci-fi film. Again, I love the characters. I like a movie with good characters. I like Dr. Alan Grant, Ian Malcolm. I like Laura Dern's character, John Hammond. I love it. Even Timmy and Lex. I love these characters. The practical effects on the dinosaurs and even the CGI still holds up. John Williams' score is one of the best John Williams scores. It's fucking Jurassic Park. Who doesn't love Jurassic Park? If you don't love Jurassic Park, then something fucking wrong with you. But yeah, I think the sequels and the remakes and the reboots and the whatever the fuck I think they gotten out of control. There's only one Jurassic Park to me, and that's the first Jurassic Park. Anyways, number 35 is the best Christmas film, one of the best Christmas films of all time. That's It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life is a great movie starring Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, and it's basically about the life of George Bailey and what life would be like if he did not exist. And it takes place during the Christmas season. It's really about what one person can do for this one community, and one person can change the lives of hundreds of people in the world. And just because like you want to end your life and you think your life doesn't mean, it has no meaning, but your life can create meaning for other people and change the lives of others. It's a Wonderful Life is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. It's got some of the best direction, best performances, and it's got some of the most heart I've ever seen in a Christmas film, and I absolutely adore It's a Wonderful Life. It's one of my favorites. Coming number 34 is Blade Runner 2049. This is a pretty recent film, but Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best fucking films I've seen this entire decade. Visuals, direction, Denis Villeneuve is one of the best modern filmmakers I've seen. He is absolutely terrific. I cannot wait for Dune. Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel to my... Spoilers, it's my favorite film of all time. Everyone knows that, though. Blade Runner 2049 is a worthy sequel. It's like a T2 or an Aliens. It's debatable which one you like more, but there is no right or wrong answer. Blade Runner 2049, I love Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Jared Leto, Anna de Armas, everybody, Robin Wright, everyone gives a terrific performance in this movie. It's deep, it's profound, it's got some of the most best cinematography and visuals I've seen. I'm glad finally Roger Deakins won cinematography for this. It's absolutely incredible. The sound is amazing. The editing is absolute sharp. I absolutely love it. And the pacing is also good. It's a long movie, but I think it's a very well-paced film. Anyways, number 33 is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Again, for a comedy, for me to like a comedy, it needs to be funny for me, and it needs to make me laugh. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one of the most quotable films for me. I quote this on my everyday life. I love this romp between these two guys, John Candy and Steve Martin. I think both are absolutely incredible in this film, and I think both of them are fucking hysterical, and just they're driving each other nuts, and they're both just trying to get home for Thanksgiving. And it's my favorite John Hughes movie, and I think it has a lot of heart, a lot of layers to it, but it's also just a super funny film. And the F word scene in the airport is one of the funniest scenes in all of comedies. It's fucking hysterical. Anyways, number 32 is Back to the Future. Back to the Future will always be one of my favorite films, will always be a timeless, classic, feel-good film. Anytime I need some cheering up, I'll always watch Back to the Future. Number 31, definitely not a feel-good movie, but a great film. That's Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is my favorite Tarantino film. a great story about all these characters, and it's done in a non-linear way, and just it's such an interesting, weird film. It's got dark comedy, it's a dramatic crime drug movie, but also a mob movie. It's a lot. There's a lot to Pulp Fiction, but it's got some of the best writing I've ever seen in cinema. It's the best Tarantino film. You know, I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Jackie Brown and Django Unchained and Glorious Bastards. I think all of them are fantastic films, but Pulp Fiction, nothing will ever beat Pulp Fiction. All right, top 30. Number 30 is a triple tie between the Before trilogy, Before Sunset, Sunrise, and Before Midnight. I think these are some of the best romance films I have ever seen in my entire life. Absolutely amazing. It's basically just a conversation between these two characters, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. It's basically just this relationship and just them two talking and learning about each other's lives. Before Sunset's the sequels. 9 years later, they run into each other again. You learn what's been happening with them in the past 9 years. Then Before Midnight is them married and how they have to deal with their marriage, their kids, their jobs and stuff, and their everyday lives. These are some of the most realistic and humanistic films I've ever seen. And anytime someone asks me, like, what is, like, one of my favorite romance films, I'll always say the Before trilogy. Before trilogy, absolutely fantastic. All right. Whew. Number 29 is a Harry Potter series. I just went with the whole series. I love the whole Harry Potter series. Again, this is the thing I've talked a lot about, so I don't need to talk too much about. I've done a whole ranking of Harry Potter, so yeah, Harry Potter. Number 29. Number 28 is The Terminator. The Terminator is one of my go-to like action sci-fi films. I love The Terminator. I love it more than T2. It's a very unpopular opinion, but I love the first Terminator. I love this story about this machine going after this girl because her son is going to be the savior of the world, and then another guy named Kyle Reese has sent back to protect her, but then this guy is actually his dad because he's meant to go back into the past to impregnate her to born John Connor, the leader of the Resistance, to destroy Skynet. Everything about this story is so smart, so genius, and so clever. It's also a very terrifying, almost horror sci-fi film. I know T2 is a badass action film. I fucking love T2. But Terminator 1 is definitely my favorite and one of my all-time favorite films. I love Terminator. All right, number 27 is my favorite comedy of all time. That's Hot Fuzz. I love the Cornetto trilogy. I love Shaun of the Dead and World's End. I think they're great films. I even like Paul. Paul's a funny film, too. But nothing will match up to Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is such a funny movie. This is the film that makes me laugh more than any film in the world. I don't know what it is about Hot Fuzz. It's just so fucking funny. There's so many jokes, so many layers. And then the funniest thing is, what I think a good comedy is, if it's a film you can watch multiple times, and you can find a new joke. That's what Hot Fuzz is. Hot Fuzz is a film I can watch multiple times, and I always will find like a new joke in the background or a new joke on the side, or because sometimes the dialogue is really quick and snappy. Like sometimes you miss a joke. There is so many jokes in Hot Fuzz. It's a film you need to watch again and again to get every joke. And that's how clever and smart this film is. And I love how it pokes fun of a lot of great action films and stuff. And it's just a legit fucking funny film. And yeah, it's my favorite comedy. Number 26 is Die Hard. Die Hard is my favorite action film, I think. Like, it is just a straight action films go. Die Hard's my favorite. I think It's a Wonderful Life is a better movie and a better Christmas movie, but Die Hard is the most kick-ass Christmas movie, and I fucking love Die Hard. I love Bruce Willis. I love Alan Rickman. I love Reginald Vell Johnson. I fucking love Argyle. I love all these characters and these performances. And I love that it's a simple story about these terrorists taking over the Nakatomi Plaza. And John McClane is a one-man guy, and he has to take them all down with no shoes. It's such a great movie with great dialogue, great characters, great direction, some of the most badass action sequences you will ever see. It's such a great movie. Nothing is more kick-ass than Die Hard. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. All right, top 25. Number 25 is Jaws. Again, I've gone on about Spielberg, and I love Jaws. I love Jaws. I think it's a great, like, sort of horror film. I think it's a great character piece. I love Hooper, Brody, and Quint. The three of them on the orca is the best part of the whole movie. It's the second half of the film. The three of them on the orca trying to catch the shark is probably the best things about Jaws. And you learn about these characters, you care about these characters. Shit, even when fucking Quint dies, it's one of the most bloodiest thing you'll ever see in a PG-13 movie. It is fucked up. It's a great movie. It's quotable. Smile, you son of a bitch. Such a great film. I fucking love Jaws. It's the first summer blockbuster for a reason, because it's amazing. Fucking love Jaws. Number 24 is Risky Business. Risky Business is another movie that's just very funny. I think Hot Fuzz is a better comedy and funnier, but Risky Business also is not just a comedy, but it's a coming-of-age story. And it's also a bit of a dramatic story about this man, this young teenager, played by Tom Cruise, starting his own brothel. He gets mixed in with pimps and prostitutes and stuff. And there's a dramatic story in there, but it's also at the center. It is a comedy. It's very funny. It's very deep. It's got some of my favorite music in films. The soundtrack to Risky Business is great. It's quotable. It's enjoyable. I have a lot of fun with Risky Business, and that's why it's one of my favorite films. Number 23 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I love great, profound, deep, thought-provoking, smart science fiction films, and nothing gets more profound and deep than 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't need to say much about it. Just go watch it. It's not a traditional sci-fi film or just a traditional film in general. It's a required taste sort of movie, but if you love cinema and you love science fiction, you gotta just watch 2001: Space Odyssey. It's a great film. Number 22, Goodfellas. Godfather is a better film, but Goodfellas is just a personal favorite of mine. I think Goodfellas is the best mob film ever made. I love these characters. I love Jimmy. I love Tommy. I love fucking, what's his name? Oh, it's Jimmy, Tommy, and Henry. Jimmy, Tommy, and Henry. All of them are great. Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, both fantastic. All three are fantastic. It's very real. It's very bleak. It's very comical at times. The scene with the airplane and him getting paranoid is great. The ending is super great. I love the world building they bring in Goodfellas. The shot compositions are fantastic. The soundtrack's kick-ass. Everything about Goodfellas is just really cool. It's very unique. It's also a pretty badass film. I love Goodfellas. All right, number 21 is Unforgiven. Unforgiven is my favorite Western, and I think this is the definition of almost a perfect film. The cinematography, the characters, the direction, Clint Eastwood, the way he pieced this film together is so great. I love the acting between him, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris, and Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman as Wild Bill is one of my favorite villains. He's so fucking amazing. I love Morgan Freeman. I love Clint Eastwood. I love the very personal story this is. It's a very bleak movie. And yeah, just love Unforgiven. Top 20, here we go. Number 20, When Harry Met Sally, my all-time favorite romantic comedy. This is a simple story about how men and women cannot be friends. And sort of right, sort of not right. I don't know. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are both great. This is probably like my favorite Rob Reiner movie. I love these two characters, Harry and Sally, in their life. And every 10 years, they keep running into each other and stuff. It's such a great film. It's so lovely. Again, it's just a good, feel-good film that I always watch anytime I need a good pick-me-up. So, yeah, I love Harry and Sally. Coming in number 19 is Ed Wood. Ed Wood's my favorite Tim Burton movie, and this is basically the disaster artist of the 90s, because I feel like the disaster artist kind of did with the Ed Wood thing, a movie about one of the worst filmmakers, because Ed Wood was the worst filmmaker in the classic era, and Tommy Wiseau is the worst in the modern era. But I like this more than Disaster Artist. I think it's a better film, better made film. I think both Johnny Depp and Martin Landau give Oscar-worthy performances as Edward D. Wood Jr. and Bela Lugosi. The relationship between Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi is the center and the heart of the story. The black and white shots, the directions, the witty comedy, everything about Ed Wood is a great film, and it's a great movie for filmmakers. It's a great movie of what not to do when you want to be a filmmaker. So yeah, Ed Wood, great film. Number 18 is My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady is probably like my favorite musical of all time. I think Audrey Hepburn is lovely. Rex Harrison is amazing. This is another one that's it's feel good. It's lovely. It's got some of my favorite costumes and production in film. It's very elegant. It's very classy. And it always puts a smile on my face every time I watch it. So yeah, I love My Fair Lady. Number 17 is In the Heat of the Night. In the Heat of the Night stars Rod Steiger and Sidney Poitier. And basically, it's about a African American police officer. He's in this town, it's a very racist town, and someone ends up being killed. And the person they want to blame is, of course, the black gentleman. Then they find out he's a police officer, and he has to help this town solve this murder investigation. And he has to team up with the captain, played by Rod Steiger, who's pretty racist. But then when he gets to know Sidney Poitier's character, who is Mr. Tibbs, they call me Mr. Tibbs. They bond this friendship and this partnership, and it's a very good story. It's just a very well-written film, and it's just a very well-acted film, and I think it's the best film of 1967, which is saying a lot because that same year, movies like Cool and Luke, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, The Graduate all came out, and I think The Heat of the Night was the best one. Coming in number 16 is 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men is a great classic black and white film. And it's basically about these 12 jury members, and they have to basically talk about the case they just witnessed, and they have to decide whether this gentleman is guilty or not guilty. And Henry Fonda plays jury member number 6, and every jury member thinks he's guilty, but Henry Fonda thinks he's not guilty, and it's basically him trying to convince these people that this gentleman is not guilty, and it's all got to do with race and classism and stuff. Another great claustrophobic movie with some great characters and great performances. Some of the best writing I've seen in cinema. I love 12 Angry Men. Number 15 is Amadeus. Amadeus is almost a perfect film for me. This is a fictional story about Mozart. Mozart was a real person. This is a very dramatized, romanticized version of Mozart stuff. The reason it's a false story is because it's through the eyes of Antonio Salieri. Antonio Salieri hated Mozart. So Mozart's depicted in this movie as a very childish, unlikable character because it's through the eyes of someone who hated him. I think it's a very clever way to talk about a person. Imagine hearing a storyline through the eyes of someone who hated that person, and it makes the person come off as an asshole. So I think that's a very genius way to tell the story, and I absolutely loved it. Tom Hulce was fantastic, but F. Murray Abraham as Salieri is one of my favorite performances in cinema. It is a truly amazing performance, and the ending to this movie is just whew. But the opera music, oof, beautiful music, amazing. Number 14 is Much Ado About Nothing. This is my favorite Shakespeare play. I love Shakespeare, and I love Kenneth Branagh making Shakespeare movies. I loved Othello. I liked Love's Labour's Lost, Henry V. Hamlet was amazing, but Much Ado About Nothing was at least my favorite. I like the comedy, and the cast is huge. Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson, Keanu Reeves, Denzel Washington, Michael Keaton is probably my favorite in this movie. Really great film, really good story. The ending is really great. It's a funny film, and I absolutely love it. Number 13 is Lawrence of Arabia. This is a huge scope masterpiece of a film. Peter O'Toole, one of my favorite performances, one of my favorite characters in cinema. The way they do the desert shots is absolutely spectacular. Gorgeous movie. David Lean's direction's amazing. The story's amazing. It's the definition of an epic film. It's an epic movie, and I fucking love it. Number 12, Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is known as the greatest film of all time. I believe it. I watch this movie every couple years. Every time I watch it, it blows me away. The shots, groundbreaking. The writing, groundbreaking. Orson Welles, he created history with Citizen Kane. He wrote, directed, produced, starred in this movie all himself, funded the movie all himself, and that was very unheard of to do that, but he broke the boundaries of cinema, and what he did with Citizen Kane was truly remarkable, and there's a reason people watch this in film studies and film classes. There's a reason people want to be like Orson Welles, is because he's a groundbreaking filmmaker, and just the way he did Citizen Kane is genius, and it's a great film. Number 11, Lord of the Rings trilogy. The whole trilogy. Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. Again, I've gone on and on about this trilogy. They all work as one big movie to me. I even have a soft spot for the Hobbit films, but the Lord of the Rings films are monumental achievements. some of the best costumes and makeup and practical effects I've seen in cinema. Love these characters, love these stories. The action scenes are badass. And I think I like Fellowship a little bit more than the other two, but I think all of them as a whole are just groundbreaking films. And I count Lord of the Rings as one huge movie. So Lord of the Rings, amazing. Top 10. Finally, we got into a top 10. Number 10, Alien. Alien is probably like my favorite sci-fi thriller horror film of all time. Alien. I love Alien. Space. No one can hear you scream. Aliens is a badass movie, but Alien has always been my favorite. It's one of my favorite Ridley Scott films. I think it's so claustrophobic, and these people on this spaceship, the Nostromo, and they're stuck with this xenomorph on their ship, and they don't know how to get out because they're a shipment crew. They're a delivery crew. They don't have weapons. They don't have intelligence about this. They don't know what the fuck they're dealing with. They don't know how to kill it. It's horrifying. It's a very claustrophobic, very terrifying, tension-filled film, and I fucking love everything about it. Alien, amazing. Number 9, Inception. Inception is probably the best film of the 2010s. It's groundbreaking. It's deep. It's thought-provoking. It's a film, again, I've gone on about. Everyone knows I love Inception, so Inception. Number 8, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark's my favorite Spielberg film. It's a great action-adventure movie. I love Indiana Jones as a character. He's probably one of my favorite characters. He's my hero. Harrison Ford was always my hero. I just love Indiana Jones, and Raiders of the Lost Ark was always just a personal favorite. I love Temple of Doom. Last Crusade's badass. I even have a guilty pleasure for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of my favorite films. All right. Number 7. I'm wearing it right there on my shirt. Rear Window. Rear Window is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie. Alfred Hitchcock's one of my all-time favorite directors. Again, I love all his movies. I love The Birds, Vertigo, North by Northwest, To Catch a Thief, Shadow of a Doubt, Psycho, Notorious, Rebecca, Family Plots, just all his movies. I fucking love Hitchcock. I think he's a brilliant filmmaker. But nothing blows me away more than Rear Window. It's one of his best films, best directed films, best shot films. Jimmy Stewart should have been nominated for an Oscar. He's fucking brilliant in this movie. The ending's great. It just puts you... It's the definition of a claustrophobic thriller. My all-time favorite kind of thrillers are claustrophobic ones, and Rear Window invented the claustrophobic thriller. It's a fucking brilliant movie. Number 6, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is my favorite superhero film. It's a great film. Batman's my favorite superhero, so of course I had to have Batman on this list, and it's The Dark Knight. It's amazing. Top 5. Number 5, Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting is my favorite written film of all time. It's the film that inspired me the most to want to write my own movies. It's one of the most hard-hitting films. Robin Williams is amazing. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck are amazing. Everyone's amazing. It has some of the most heart, some of the most tragic things. It's just a great personal story, and I love everything about Good Will Hunting. Number 4, favorite animated film of all time, Spirited Away. Spirited Away is directed by Hayao Miyazaki, and I love everything about Spirited Away. The animation, the visuals, the atmosphere, the train sequence alone is probably some of the most best thing I've ever seen in cinema. The movie's perfect to me. That's why it's my favorite film. It's fucking flawless. And yeah, it's amazing. Top 3, number 3 is Casablanca. Casablanca is a perfect film for me. It's the best romance film of all time. I think the chemistry between Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart is amazing. And again, it is literally the most quotable film. We'll always have Paris, all the gin joints in all the world. She had to come into my place. Here's looking at you, kid. All the fucking lines in this movie are amazing. The cinematography, the music, the editing. Casablanca, masterpiece. Number 2, The Empire Strikes Back. See that poster right there, the picture. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. It's got some of the best cinematic twists. Darth Vader's a badass in the movie. It's Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars geek, Star Wars nerd, and I love a good Star Wars movie, and Empire Strikes Back is the definition of a good Star Wars movie. Number 1, everyone knows what the fuck it is. It's Blade Runner. Blade Runner is my favorite film of all time. I think it's the most deep, profound sci-fi films I've ever watched. It's thinky, it's smart, it's riveting. Harrison Ford, Robin Wright, Sean Young, Humphrey Bogart, Emmett Walsh, Humphrey Bogart. Did I just say fucking Humphrey Bogart? Rutger Hauer is what I meant to say. It's a long video, guys. I'm losing it. Humphrey Bogart. not in this movie. Rutger Hauer is in this movie. Rutger Hauer is Roy Batty. He's one of my favorite villains in cinema. It's a great villain. All those moments in time will be lost like tears in the rain. It's a great movie. One of my favorite endings. It's Blade Runner, favorite film of all time. So yeah, that was my top 50 favorite films of all time. God help me. It was a long list. Anyways, in the comment section below, please tell me what are your guys' favorite films of all time. Don't give me your top 50s if you don't want to. Give me like your top 10s or something. Top 10 favorite films of all time. Give me your thoughts and opinion. Comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.